Hello and welcome to the AVForums podcast for Monday the 21st of August. And joining me in this edition, Assistant Editor Steve Withers.
Which got Satan's power?
Audio Reviewer Ed Selley.
Choke on it for all I care, just get it out your mouth.
And special guest Mark Botwright.
Go to your closet.
So welcome along to the podcast for this week. And Ed, it's weekly update time. How's the leg?
It's doing all right, Phil. All the dressings are off now. I just took a photo of my incredibly stereotypical and cliched scar on Twitter the other day, so you can enjoy yourself and have a look at that if you feel so minded. It's gradually getting a bit of movement back. Toes are a bit sore, but that's because the swelling's coming up. I hope to still, I say 3 weeks. The cast came off a week yesterday. That would mean 3 weeks to go from today. Hopefully still on schedule to be, well, a bit more mobile than I currently am. Have you lost weight, sir?
Thanks for asking. It's one of these weird things. So obviously I've been doing the fitness thing for a little while. I've been building it up, and I started at 14 stone 8 pounds, and that would have been back in end of May. Let's say end of May that would have been. And I've built the walking up, so I haven't been doing too much to start with. It was just building it up gradually, taking the dog out for a walk and going and building it up. But from about the 7th of July when I got my Fitbit and I could see my numbers and I could see what kind of effects I was having and all the rest of it, that's when I really started stepping up and I started doing 5 miles a day. 4 to 5 miles a day, I should say. And I've gone down to 14.2. So from the end of May to now, 14.2, but I've been 14.2 all of last month. I haven't put on any weight. I haven't lost any weight though. And the only thing I can say to that is I've now got massive calf muscles and my legs are pretty well toned now. So I've got pretty well toned legs and then this huge gap just above it. So I look a bit odd shaped at the minute.
I suggest a few sit-ups.
And I haven't really lost any more weight from that. So I can only surmise that I am actually building muscle at the minute. Obviously the diet has changed. Eating a lot of white meat. Chicken, that kind of thing.
Cat.
No, I haven't gone that far. But no, I've plateaued at 14.2, and seemingly this happens quite a bit. And then if I do a bit more work and over a bit more time, then it should start dropping away. The one thing
I'm getting a little bit of interference here. I seem to be listening to Loose Women.
The one thing I don't want to do is do a fad diet. Now they do work. These things like Lighter Life and what's the other one, Slimming World and that kind of thing, they do work and all the rest of it, but you really have to modify quite a bit. You have to stick to diets. And the one thing, the problem I have with things is they don't teach you and they don't counsel you as to what to do afterwards, because people I know that have done these diets, they've piled it all back on again. So there's no discipline there. So what I'd rather do is do something that I'm confident I can stick to, that I know it's within my comfort zones and still allows me to lose weight and so on, and I'll do that through the exercise. It's funny you say press ups, Steve, because I've just ordered a press up, a pull up bench, which should be getting delivered next week, and I've also ordered and had delivered dumbbells, and I'll be doing 15-minute workouts for them as well. So beginning to become a bit of a fitness twat, really. I just wish I could lose some weight.
Mental image of some sort of Rocky montage with you in a prison cell yard, doing all these workouts and these big fat guys all around you.
I was more thinking of the beginning of Flashdance.
Yeah, okay. Back to your leg, Ed.
Yeah.
Because why talk about AV when we can talk about interesting things? It confused me how they can do it nowadays without a cast. So how do they actually set the bone so it starts to heal again?
Right. Well, they knocked me out with anaesthetic. They cut a significant incision on the inside of the ankle. They manipulated it with their hands, which is a polite way for saying they stuck a finger in there and went and pushed it all back into alignment, checked the alignment, and then essentially there's now a bolt that runs, I believe, the complete width of my ankle, which went in through the big scar and is then secured by a little fastener on the other end. Okay. There's another scar on the other side. So that's it. Essentially, if you do have your a broken bone fixed with a pin, screw, or whatever, it's good to go. The only delay in my part is because it's a joint and because there were other broken bones, I have to take it easy for a bit. But yeah, it's the quick way out, and you get some bitching scars as a result of it as well. So
does the metal stay in?
Unless there is a very, very good reason to remove it. It's there for the duration. Yes.
Great. So when you go through airport security, you're going to be setting off all the buzzers.
This is an old wives' tale. You will register a very fractional pulse on the very latest and very best metal detectors, but if you routinely set off a metal detector with a big proper spike on account of metal inside you, please go and seek medical attention, because medical grade titanium does not have a signature that's supposed to do that, and it means that you've got something like mild steel in you, which is not a good thing. So that if there's one thing you take away from this podcast, it's that. Please, pay attention to that.
Okay. Right, okay. I think we've discussed enough about our fantastic bodies. I think it's time to to move on to competitions and things that you could win, and Mark's going to tell you all about it.
Yep, you can win the Scan Cedia S1 Nero Luxury Gaming Chair, and that one runs till the 30th of August. Also running to 30th of August is the Zerotech Dobby Mini Selfie Quadcopter, and that comes courtesy of GearBest. And we've also got a pair of NAD Viso HP30 headphones, courtesy of Seven Oaks Sound Vision. A little bit longer on that. That one runs till the 20th of September.
You could really have just said the same as last week.
Yeah, I could have.
You could have, yeah.
But we've got to pad this, Phil. We've got to pad it.
I know. That's why we're talking about our bodies at the start. Previous competition winners.
Rachel Simmons won Wakefield on DVD with a poster signed by Bryan Cranston, and AV Fanboy won American Gods on Blu-ray.
Good stuff. Right, so let's move on to hardware news, and let's talk about 75 inches of pure indulgence. Steve?
Yeah.
He's not that short. Come on.
He is short, though.
I feel short standing next to the telly, I can tell you that much. Yes, 75-inch Sony XE94, which is their... well, they've got two TVs that use full-array local dimming. They've got the ZD9 and this one. And obviously this is the big one, though. 75 inches, and I have to say, as Phil pointed out at last week's podcast, when he asked me the price, 4,300 quid, which is, for 75 inches, not an unreasonable amount of money. Full array local dimming, as I said, and local dimming on these Sony TVs is actually really good. So you're getting a big picture, you're getting a good picture, you're getting some decent black levels. Obviously, you're going to get a little bit of haloing because that's just inevitable with technology. But it delivers a cracking picture. And if you're looking for big screen entertainment at home, and you don't necessarily want to get a projector, and for reasons that we discussed last week, there was a logic to this, because when you're talking about HDR, projectors are hamstrung slightly in terms of being able to deliver a reasonable HDR performance, then a big screen TV starts to make a lot of sense. And at that price point, 4,300 quid, well, you'd be paying around about that for a decent projector as well. So there's a lot of arguments to be saying we should be looking now, if you're looking for a home cinema experience, and in the past we'd have always said go for a projector. Big bang, get the most bang for your buck, get big screen image, get all the benefits of a projector, get that sort of cinema experience. But these days, there is a reasonable case to be made for it. If you want to, particularly depending on the size of your room perhaps, but there's a reasonable case to be made for thinking, if I want a big screen experience and I want all the benefits, things like HDR and Dolby Vision, of course, which is also supported by the XE94, maybe I should be thinking about a TV, a big screen TV. And this certainly would fit that bill. Now, obviously, 75 inches, that is a big screen size. It is very, very heavy, and quite deep for a modern television, because obviously it's got the full array backlight. But if you're prepared to accept that and you've got the room and you can find somewhere to install it, it's definitely worth considering, because it is a cracking performer. I mean, the image accuracy is good. The picture, as I say, is great. The only problem with the screens of this size is that it really shows up any limitations in the source material. So, if you're talking about standard definition broadcasts particularly, they can look pretty poor. But a good quality source, so high def broadcasts, Blu-ray, obviously, an Ultra HD Blu-ray, look absolutely stunning on it. So I like it. I mean, it's the same, in terms of its design and everything, it's pretty, it looks almost identical to last year's model. It's got a bit of a redesigned styling in terms of the color scheme, and they're attractive TVs. I like the styling, I like the design. it has built-in speakers that not the big side speakers that they had on previous generations, but sounds good. And my only complaint with this TV, and it's the same complaint I have with every Sony TV, unfortunately, is that it uses the Android Smart TV platform. And whilst there are things you can do to mitigate this in terms of speeding it up a little bit by closing certain apps, I just feel like the Android Smart TV platform is being used on TVs that haven't got enough processing to run it properly. Because I've already had a couple of crashes. I just find it to be an infuriating system, and I don't like it. So picture quality wise, fantastic. In user interface wise, I'm still not a fan. And that's my one real complaint. Otherwise, though, if you're looking for a big screen TV with a really, and obviously, being LCD, it's a lot brighter. Then this is definitely going to be worth considering.
A couple of things there. So obviously, room size is going to be an issue here. So I think where this appeals to people in place of a projector is if, say, you've converted a room such as a single garage into a cinema room. So you're only going to have about 100 inches of wall space width-wise anyway. So, that makes sense to go 75-inch TV rather than a projector. However, if you've got a nice big room where you can get over 100 inches in terms of screen size, then you got to weigh up whether you want the big screen effect against the 75-inch TV with the HDR. And personally, I'd always go big screen. For me, projected image there's just something about a projected image that just looks different, and yes, you miss out a little bit in the HDR, but to be honest, I'm not that fussed. If I want to watch HDR, I'll watch it on the TV type of thing.
Yeah.
So I guess there's two things there. The other thing that just sort of sprung to mind there, when you're talking about screen size and all the rest of it, is that, just 20 years ago, so not a long time ago at all, I had a 32-inch CRT TV, which I traded in for a Pioneer 50-inch rear projection TV, and that was absolutely ginormous back in the day. Going from a 32-inch TV CRT, and everybody had a 32-inch or below CRT back just 20 years ago. It just shows you how far we've come in that time that we're now casually talking about spending $4,000. And my Pioneer 50-inch was $4,500 when I bought it. I mean, it was the size of a piano.
How many people did it take to move that in?
That was 6 people, and it was a spiral staircase as well, because I was a top floor flat, and it was an old spiral.
Did you neglect to mention that?
I neglected to mention that when they said it was free delivery and setup. So yeah, and when I got rid of it, I sold it to a local pub when I moved down here. When I got rid of it, they hired a piano moving team from Pickford's to come and take it away, and they did it within seconds because they knew what they were doing, obviously. But yeah, getting back to the point I was trying to make there, though, is we're talking about screen real estate there quite casually at $4,500 at 75 inches. That's and 4K and HDR, decent black levels. It's a FALD set, and if you want FALD technology, my advice would be jump in now, because you're going to find that give it 2 years, that technology is going to disappear because it is just too expensive to make.
We can say sort of, we've heard rumours that there's two factors. One is the expense, isn't there? And the other one is apparently in testing and marketing testing and that sort of market research, they've discovered that people just aren't digging given the incredibly thin chassis on an OLED TV. When people see a full array local dimming set, which is obviously by definition a lot deeper because it has to have the LEDs behind the panel, there's a lot of negative response to the sheer size of it.
Yeah.
And as you said, Phil, they're also quite expensive. So I've got a sneaking suspicion these things are going to become rarer and rarer. There aren't that many at the moment, are there? I mean, think about it. What we've got on the market.
Well, Samsung
Yeah.
used to have it on their high-end TVs. Look at the high-end TVs this year. None of them are FALD.
None. So basically, what you've got is Sony's. Sony are still supporting it. And in fact, right now, if you're looking at LCD TVs, I'd definitely be looking at Sony, because I think performance-wise, they're easily giving us the best performance for an LCD television currently. We look at the XE93 and the XE94 and the ZD9 have all been cracking tellies. So,
but they've done well with the edge-lit, haven't they? With the XE93.
That's true. Their XE93 is actually a really good edge-lit TV, and they're one of the few manufacturers who's still pushing full array local dimming with the 94 and the ZD9. But I'm struggling to think off the top of my head of any other. I mean, there's obviously you can still buy the 902, the Panasonic, but otherwise,
Yeah.
Full array local dimming is becoming rarer and rarer, isn't it?
It is, and I mean the only time that you're going to see LCD tech come back to that is when we get proper QLED, not the marketing exercise that Samsung are running at the minute, which is just it's not a new technology at all. It's just an LCD TV with quantum dot, and they've been around a long time. And manufacturers just name them different things. So on Sony it's triluminous, isn't it? Samsung used the QLED thing, but QLED technology, the proper QLED is actually almost per pixel, or should be almost per pixel once it's fully developed. That would be exciting technology. That has nothing to do with what Samsung are calling QLED at the minute, which again is quite disingenuous. When you look at the marketplace, not only the name QLED, and the reason they went with the name QLED is it looks like OLED. There's no getting around that one.
Yeah, no, I mean, nano LED will be a game changer when it finally becomes something they can sell at a marketable price, because you're talking about each pixel being composed of a red, green, and blue LED, basically tiny little LEDs, and that means you've got everything. You've got the absolute blacks, but you've also got a lot more brightness, and you've got pixel precision. That'll be interesting, but I've got a stinking suspicion that's still a way off.
Yeah, at least 5 to 8 years away, at least.
That's what we've heard. Yeah. So in the meantime, what you're left with is an option of either going for LCD or for OLED. And as far as LCD goes, definitely full array local dimming is the way to go, because you've got the the better black levels, the greater precision in terms of local dimming, and also you've got a lot more brightness. But whether you're measuring up between them, an OLED or an LCD at the moment, I think personally, and I've said this a couple of months ago when I sort of came out and said I'm going to buy a B7 for my money, and this is literally for my money because this is what I've done. I think OLED at the moment is knocking it out of the park in terms of picture quality and performance, and that includes with HDR as well. Yes, they're not as bright as LCDs, but that greater precision in terms of delivering the peak highlights for me works better. And
just how bright? Can I just ask? Just how bright was a 75-inch screen running an HDR image?
His shadow is actually burnt on.
I'm just thinking. I'm thinking of the scene with Mark Strong in Sunshine.
Yeah, it's well over 1,000 nits, trust me. So
but even with full backlight though, you're not getting the precision that you get with OLED when it comes to the highlights. So if it's something on screen that needs to be lit up that's small, you're still going to have that halo around it when it comes to even a full backlight LED TV, LCD TV. You're still going to have the halo around it and all that. Whereas on the OLED, it's just going to be that 1 or 2 pixels that's lit up bright against complete black. And when you're talking about high dynamic range, well, Naim has a higher dynamic range than OLED at the moment, so it might not go as bright. But this argument is, and it's been seen in at least 2 or 3 shootouts that have happened this year. OLED's won through. I mean, across the board.
A guy made a comment. I think it was on the video we were shooting at the Philips event, but no, he said, yes, the LCD can go brighter, but its black floor is higher, so it's just kind of compensating for that to a certain degree. And once you get that really low absolute black floor, suddenly 600 or 700 nits looks very bright against a completely black background. So yeah, I'm very, very happy with, and I'm sure Mark can probably pitch in here too, very happy with the performance of the B7 in terms of both SDR and HDR. So for my money right now, I would be looking at, as I've said numerous times and literally have done, I'd be looking at an OLED.
So, I mean, Mark, how are you getting on with yours? Because obviously you're not as TV obsessed as Steve is, and obviously, I think you're more like a typical AVForums member than probably Steve is. So how are you getting on with the TV? Is it living up to the hype that you had before you saw it?
Yeah, I'm absolutely loving it. Best TV I've certainly ever owned. The first thing that obviously strikes you is the black level. I just kind of staring in awe. I kept on thinking of the line from This Is Spinal Tap, where Nigel Tufnell says, "How much more black could it be?" And the answer is none more black. And it's true. It couldn't be any more black. You just lose it in a dark room. You cannot see the edge on, when you've got the bars of a movie or something like that. And it does seem, at the moment, it's at a great price as well. And pretty much everything that I wanted from it is there. I wanted a less aggressive backlight limiter for, when viewing SDR content, that kind of thing. It's pretty forgiving actually of poor sources. That was one of the things that surprised me the most for SD content, because I am still stuck in the past. I do still have DVDs, and I do watch a fair amount of kind of crappy bitrate Freeview sports and that kind of thing. OLED as a technology seems to handle it, and it kind of reminds me of plasma. Just seems that organic perhaps is the word you'd apply, but it just seems a bit more forgiving than LCD. The only areas that I was worried about, and why I kind of sat on the fence for so long, was question of motion handling. It came from a Sony LCD, and image retention with regards, gaming and that kind of thing. But thus far, I've seen, I haven't noticed any image retention whatsoever. And the problem is that I think I was almost like I was sold a pup with plasma, in the sense that people kept on telling me the later sets don't suffer from image retention. And the problem is they still did. There's a sense that people over-egg it to say that it's completely gone. Screen burn was gone, image retention had gone, and it hadn't. And my last plasma suffered from it pretty badly. So that's what I was worried about. But I've left it paused. I've watched channels with the little symbols in the corner, everything like that. I've gamed on it, and thus far I haven't noticed anything. It's got the little what's the compensation cycle thing in the background, Steve? The one when you go into standby, I think. So it does like the screen
washes, yeah.
Yeah, and so I don't know whether that's just working or whether it's the fact that I'm not noticing it, but also the filter for kind of ambient light as well. There's not the kind of magenta push on it this year, and thus far, there's absolutely nothing I could complain about it with.
Good stuff. So while we're talking about OLED, let's stay there. We'll come back to Ed in a minute. Ed can do his two pieces together. We did try to separate them out, so it was Steve Ed, but Nah.
Whatever.
We're talking about OLEDs anyway. So, are we saying that the LG B7 is our best all-round value for money TV of the year?
Absolutely. I'm having seen and tested all the OLEDs now. I mean, for sheer performance, features, design, and price, input lag as well. Nothing, you can't beat the B7. I mean, as LG did say at the beginning, and as we categorically state is true because we've tested them all, apart from the C7, the performance in terms of picture quality across their entire range is identical. So, if you're buying an LG TV, if you're buying something that's more expensive, you're really buying it for other features like, a soundbar or whatever. So performance-wise, you can't fault any of them, and the B7 is absolutely superb. It's got all the features. So you've got WebOS, you've got the low input lag, as I said. You've got Dolby Atmos in there, Dolby Vision support, of course, HLG, all of which works, by the way. I've done some HLG testing with BBC iPlayer. So it's got it all. I think it's an attractive looking TV personally. I really like the design of it. That's a personal thing, but I love WebOS. I love the Magic Motion remote. I just think it's an absolutely great TV. And if you're looking for bargains at the moment, I know this week, we're recording, on the forums, people were saying that you could get the 65-inch B7 or C7 for, I think it was 2,999 quid from Curry's. I mean, it's just cracking prices.
That appears to be across. Do you know what? I actually flicked that up because I was intrigued whilst you were prattling on. I've got shopping results. Shop now across Google. Curry's, John Lewis, Argos, loads of other people. 2,999. So basically a penny under £3,000
for a 65-inch OLED TV.
For a 65-inch OLED television. I mean, if I could just hold off buying records, speakers, cartridges, and avoid breaking my leg as often, that's actually
for
quite
1 week.
Well, yeah,
So I mean,
near a 3, Mark, near a 3, but yeah, same problem.
So basically, there you go. I mean, B7, absolutely cracking TV.
Input lag, also, just as a point, input lag is the same across 1080p and 4K. With HDR, isn't it?
Yes.
So that's a very good feature, because there are kind of some sets out there where it spikes with certain content. So if you're looking at a great kind of 4K TV and you see a little press release or something saying that it's got low input lag, that might be they're touting the 4K figure, and then with 1080p it might go up. So if you're using older consoles or something, then that's just something you've got to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly can't fault it. I mean, Mark, you watch a lot of football. Any problems with banding on your B7?
No, absolutely none whatsoever.
None of mine either.
I'm keeping my eye open because I remember the B6, there were question marks over its kind of motion handling when it first came out. I think it got the firmware update, but some people were saying there's a bit of kind of, bit of judder in there. But I've noticed absolutely nothing with kind of panning shots and that kind of thing. So, I'm at that stage though where I'm thinking, just don't look for it too much anyway. Don't spoil your enjoyment.
Yeah.
So
don't sit and look at 2 and 5% slides either.
No.
I mean, when on earth are you ever going to sit and do that? I don't know.
That way madness lies.
Exactly.
But anyway, so overall, B7 absolutely hands down my best OLED TV of the year in terms of everything. All the features I've mentioned. If you're looking for alternatives, though, there are alternatives.
Well, I was going to say, Steve, if you are an enthusiast, you have got a slightly deeper pockets, and you want the absolute in terms of accuracy when it comes to not only Rec 709 but also DCI P3 Rec 2020. Is the B7 still the winner there? No.
For sheer image accuracy, without question, the Panasonic EZ1002 and to be fair, the EZ952 as well, because that was equally as accurate. But the 1002 in particular, is quite simply the most accurate television I've ever reviewed, hands down. And it was designed to be a semi-professional product, aimed at people who perhaps couldn't afford to buy.
Well, it is being used in deluxe grading suites, so that kind of tells you everything you need to know about the 3D lookup tables and stuff that's in there.
Yeah, incredible image accuracy, and obviously you think it's quite expensive, but relative to a professional OLED monitor, it's not that expensive at all. If you're getting a level of performance that is almost as good, you've got to say for a home theater kind of OLED TV with where image accuracy is your key factor, then yes, the EZ1002 and the EZ952 both deliver staggering levels of performance, and not just after calibration. These TVs were incredibly accurate out of the box. So that was impressive, really impressive. If you're looking for innovation in terms of OLED, I think Sony went hands down with their acoustic surface because of the incredibly thin nature of the panel. They were able to do something. It's not new technology; it's been done before, but not with a television. Where by positioning actuators behind the panel, they can vibrate it and use the screen as a speaker, and that is really clever. And it worked really well. It sounded great, and I was very impressed with that. So when you end up with a TV where all you can see is a screen, there's nothing else visible. That's quite clever. And so innovation-wise, I think Sony deserves some kudos for that.
What about the W7?
Sorry, yes. And of course, there's the W7, which, as I said, the incredibly thin nature of the panel. And if they move all the other processing electronics to another device, to basically a soundbar, you've got just this thing you can literally put on the wall with magnets. When you've seen people taking it off and putting it back on again while it's still on, it's really cool. So yeah, if you're looking for innovation in terms of something that's going to really
or if you're just one of these people that has to have the best everything just to show off to your mates.
If you want to get your friends' attention, W7 will definitely do it.
Yeah. So we've been saying this all year. Once we tested these TVs quite a few months ago, this is basically what we've been saying. And our viewpoint, now that we have seen all of the OLED TVs that are available, and we've had a sort of sneak peek at the 9002 as well from Philips, which will be coming, I think it's next month it gets released in the UK. There's a wide variety of choice. Yes, the panels are all LG panels, but the picture processing and the 3D lookup tables and other things that manufacturers then add on top of those, there is a genuine choice to be made across OLED TVs.
Absolutely, yeah. When you look at it now, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. You've got 5 manufacturers doing OLED TVs: LG, Panasonic, Sony, Philips, and Lerva at the moment. I know that there's one coming from Toshiba later in the year as well, so that's another manufacturer on board. Yes, they're all LG panels, of course, but each manufacturer can bring their own spin to it. But it gives you choice, and also, as we just mentioned earlier, price-wise, you're getting some fantastic deals on OLED TVs now. When you consider, the idea of a 65-inch 4K Ultra HD HDR Dolby Vision OLED TV for just under $3,000. That's starting to reach a point now where it's moving beyond just the enthusiastic people that my brother-in-law's visiting me at the moment, and he was talking about OLED last night. He's got He's currently got a Samsung curved LCD TV, but he's thinking about OLED. So it's definitely penetrating below just your enthusiasm into people that are perhaps a bit more mass market. And I think that's good news. Obviously the issue becomes, as it becomes more popular, is whether LG can keep up with demand in terms of making enough panels. But there's no question that OLED is starting to really penetrate the mass market in terms of sort of recognition and appeal.
Right, so that's basically our Best Buy OLED TVs. We, like I say, we've been saying this since we reviewed them. Our opinions haven't changed now that we're getting towards the end of the year. So if you are looking at OLED, then there will be a full article, Best Buy article, going up on, I think it's Wednesday or Thursday of the week when you're listening to this podcast. So everything will be listed there, all the pros and cons for each model of OLED TV, all the features that are on them, and then our picks, which you've just heard here, for best innovation, best enthusiast TV, and best overall bang for buck TV as well. So look out for that article. It should be on this site, like I say, this week when you listen to the podcast. So moving things on, let's go to Ed. Ed, you had an exclusive review this week.
Yes, we got our hands on a Naim Uniti Atom. Now, those of you with long memories, or relatively long memories, or at least ones that haven't been destroyed by beer, will possibly remember that we actually got invited to the launch of the new Naim Uniti systems, which happened the best part of a year ago, I think October 2016. And we were solemnly promised that we'd probably have access to a Uniti Atom not too long after CES. And I suppose if we're working in geological time, that's come to pass. This is a very, very complicated product, and it has taken longer than Naim wanted to get it to market. The good news is that it's here now, and this feeds on from a conversation I was having a couple of weeks ago, where I had sort of reached the conclusion that a number of the all-in-one systems available at, between £2,000 and £4,000 are so competent across the big range of facilities that they perform that I honestly don't know if I would choose to build a separate system over them if I was building a system from scratch now as a normal human being. The good news for everyone is that the Naim is effortlessly competitive with some of the other systems that we've looked at. So the Moon Neo Ace, the Lima Quasar, and so on and so forth. But it's under £2,000. And furthermore, it has some facilities which are genuinely going to move things on in terms of real-world accessibility. I mean, I'm not going to lie, Chromecast has not thus far been a big part of my existence. But there's no getting around the fact that a lot of people on the forums do use it, and Naim's integration of it is exactly bob on with what you would expect a Chromecast compatible product to do. So you don't have to equip yourself with a fleet of Naim products to have very capable multi-room. The Naim will behave itself and run as part of the Chromecast system. The option of having an HDMI input, which will use the ARC feedback from your television to send audio to it. It's a £100 option, but it does strike me as a very, very useful and easy way of getting collated sources back out to an external audio system. And all of this would be irrelevant if it didn't sound good, but it genuinely sounds fantastic. Provided that you choose your loudspeakers with any degree of sort of common sense. You've got 40 watts to play with. There's good current delivery alongside that, so it's reasonably hefty. So provided that you're not looking to drive something outrageous, there's more than enough real world volume and no signs of strain, even when I was driving it quite hard. And the last, and I suspect possibly most important piece of this puzzle, is that the Unity is one of the first, if you like, small hi-fi company products I've used that genuinely feels as slick, as well thought out, and just as gorgeous to use as an expensive product from a very large manufacturer. Obviously, my photos were hamstrung in part by me doing them hopping on one leg, which is not how I recommend you do that. And I was embarrassed to note that actually there's a reflection of one of my crutches in one of the display pictures.
Yeah,
as well.
It's not as bad as Steve's bare legs in the opening of one of the videos I've just edited. See if you can find which one that is.
we're all gentlemen amateurs. I was totally unable to capture until you see it, and until you see it, you won't really get. The display is a thing of loveliness. We've just been talking about the OLEDs. There is no more black. Just the contrast and the depth and the general and then the brightness of lighter colors of this display when it's showing album art. It makes no difference whatsoever to the performance, but that and the volume control, it all helps you feel like you haven't been taken to the cleaners. You've bought something where just as much care and effort has been lavished on the industrial design as the innards, and it makes it feel like a genuinely special product. And that, to me, is a very significant breakthrough. And my hope for all concerned is that Naim very right deserve to sell an absolute lorry loads of this product, because there is simply no collection of separate equipment I would assemble for under £2,000 that could just match the slickness, cohesion. You wouldn't get anywhere near the aesthetics because there'd be multiple boxes. You might be able to very fractionally better it in performance, but you just have a big swathe of electronics instead of one compact box. This is genuine 21st century hi-fi. And I would, if you are in the market for such a thing, I know it's far from inexpensive, but by the same token, I think it is good value for what it is. You absolutely need to check this product out.
Good stuff. And just quickly, because we are running out of time and we need to discuss movies, because there's lots to discuss in movies this week. Sound Advice, you did active and powered speakers. Just quickly, what was that all about?
Well, yes, this was because I had a pair of active and a pair of powered loudspeakers come through back to back. They're both still up on the front page at the time of talking. The Acoustic Energy AE1 active and then the Stelges Audio NS6 powered speaker. So the piece covers the difference between a powered speaker and an active speaker, and it covers why you might be interested in using such a thing, mainly because in the last 10 years, everything's become a preamp. So that's well worth a look if you are building a system or thinking about making a system. Well worth a look, because you might be able to assemble a system which offers exceptionally high performance, a bit more flexibility, if you go down the active route. So do have a look at that and see what you think.
Okay, Ed, well, thanks very much for that. And like I say, we've got lots to talk about movie-wise, so that's coming up now. So, moving on to movie news, and Steve, did you get out to the cinema this week?
I have not had a chance to go to the cinema this week, unfortunately, because I've had family in town.
Excuses. So, Unlimited Card, you're still up for the month, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm already 3 up, and I will go and see once everyone's buggered off. I'm going to go and see The Dark Tower and the film you're about to review. So
yeah, okay, yeah. Cool. And I've just booked last week Terminator 2 in 3D. It's the new restoration. It's been shown for one evening only, which is August the 29th. So I booked myself in to see that as well. So my card is getting well spanked this month. So anyway, let's get on to the Hitman's Bodyguard. So a bit like Atomic Blonde, which I assumed was going to be a biopic about Debbie Harry. I was really disappointed that the Hitman's Bodyguard just wasn't about Pete Waterman, Clive with his wig dancing, and Michaela Strachan, and obviously taking place at the Palace nightclub in Blackpool. That's what I thought it was going to be about.
Not
showing your age there, darling.
I just a bit. That's like late 80s, early 90s humour there. I mean,
there were so many references there, and every single one flew over my head.
Well, I surprised myself yesterday that I could remember the dancer on it with the huge silver wig on was called Clive, and I was right as well, because I looked it up on Google. I was right that I even remember that. How sad is that?
Michaela Strachan in The Hitman and Her.
Yeah.
Oh God, I don't even remember that.
Do you not remember it?
Well, I never watched it.
It was Car Crash TV, Steve, of the highest order. I mean, they basically toured the nightclubs of Northern England, like Warrington and Wigan, and where this film actually does take in Coventry, where this place, the Hitman's Bodyguard, actually starts in Coventry. I mean, this was one of the things that sort of threw me a little bit about the film, was the settings and Interpol. So Interpol is some kind of FBI huge agency based in Manchester. What? Highly armed and American, seemingly, and one French guy. So I think the best way to explain this film is that it's a buddy action comedy thriller along the lines of the old Lethal Weapon films, starring Ryan Reynolds, with Samuel L. Jackson given a Samuel L. Jackson motherfucking performance. I mean, the use of the word motherfucker throughout this film, it just became comical after a while, and that was the whole point, basically. I mean, in terms of comedy, it's absolutely bang on, really funny. I'm not going to spoil it for people. It's as cliched as these types of movies are. So the bad guy is so cliched. He's Eastern European dictator. He's
played by the one and only Gary Oldman.
Yeah, absolutely brilliantly played by Gary Oldman. Even if his accent is terrible, it's still, you know, and it's outstanding performance, cliched in every single way, as are the bad guys. They are so stereotypical Eastern European thugs. It's comical and comic book sensibilities in there. Like I say, lots of throwbacks to the Lethal Weapon buddy mismatch comedy in there. Reynolds plays. He almost plays Deadpool in this, in terms of his delivery of his comedic lines, but he's so charismatic and so funny and so deadpan funny, which just absolutely works for this. Whereas Samuel L. Jackson plays the hard as nails motherfucking bad guy. I saw it with a full cinema. It was a preview screening on a Thursday evening. The place was packed out. Absolutely packed out, and the comedy just hit. Every joke just hit right. And you start to forgive things like Interpol being this big FBI type agency and based in Manchester and Coventry for some strange reason.
Did they get some sort of tax break from the Coventry County Council or something?
They must have done some kind of tax break. It's strange. It really is strange. But
to be fair, if you can use the Coventry Ring Road system without dying, that would make you pretty well trained in terms of driving, escape, and evasion.
Yeah.
Whoever designed that was a proper sadist.
Totally. But yeah, you start forgiving it for these things, and you kind of go into this movie. If you've seen the trailer, and the trailer actually gives quite a bit away, to be honest. If you've seen the trailer, and it's appealed to you, then go and see it, because it plays out and the best jokes are not just in the trailer. There are some really standout funny moments. I've seen a lot of people sort of trying to say the similarities to Atomic Blonde in terms of how violent it is and how brutal it is. Yes, it's violent, yes, it's brutal, but it's more sort of comic book violence, if that makes sense. Whereas Atomic Blonde was realistic. There was vulnerability there. There was a real life or death threat there. Whereas this is played a lot more comedic and a lot more sort of fake violence, if that makes sense. In terms of it's an action movie. You don't really care who's getting shot in the head type of thing. Whereas Atomic Blonde it played it a lot more realistic. So I don't think they're similar in that respect. It is brutal for I think it was a 15 rated movie. It is brutal. It is violent. There is brains being splattered everywhere in headshots and that kind of thing. The kind of thing that you would expect from this type of movie. And it's just really bloody good fun. Actually, I've really enjoyed it, and it didn't outstay its welcome. The pacing was bang on. It kept moving, the jokes kept coming, they kept hitting the right mark. I can't think of any that didn't. And overall, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I know Sharuna gave it a 7. I would actually give it an 8. It's one of those. It's a nice back to the future sort of moment where you're getting a sort of Lethal Weapon type film coming back to the cinema again. And I haven't seen one for such a long time. It's actually refreshing.
Which I find, Phil, I don't know about you, but I've been watching films recently, like Atomic Blonde, for example, from where you're describing the Hitman's Bodyguard. I'm sitting there thinking, what have you got to do to get an 18 certificate these days?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, violence-wise, you can pretty much do anything on doing a guy's 15 certificate, can't you?
Totally. Talking about brain splatter, there is loads of brains, even onto the lenses, the cameras at times. The other thing that really, really is outstanding is the stunt work in this. Yes, there's some CGI. A lot of it's actually done for real as well. So a lot of the car chases, there's a car chase through Amsterdam, and it takes along the canal system with a motorbike and a speedboat as well. And I'm not going to spoil it for people. There are clips of this in the trailer. Phenomenal, on the edge of your seat stuff. The editing was slick. It wasn't none of this shaky cam sort of Bourne Supremacy type stuff. It was actually You could actually follow who was who and who was getting hit and all the rest of it in the fight sequences, and the action and the choreography absolutely spot on as well. I mean, I think sort of Baby Driver sort of bumped that up in terms of choreography type style, and then you've had like the Atomic Blondes and that kind of thing where you get this realism added in, and then you've got this sort of comedic comic book style violence of the Hitman's Bodyguard, but again the choreography and the stunt work, and there is some CGI explosions and that kind of thing, but mixed together as one package, it's seriously good fun, really good fun, and I would describe it as a sort of 80s sensibilities action movie, if that makes sense. It sort of back to your Lethal Weapons and that kind of thing, which we haven't seen for such a long time.
I think we can drink to that. Well, I don't, not at the moment, but in the future. I mean, I would say, I might consider watching that, but we all know that I don't go to the cinema when I've got two working legs, let alone at the moment. So
yeah. No, it's good fun, and it's a damn sight better than some of the movies that we've seen recently, like London Falling and The White House Down and all that kind of thing. This is superior, absolutely superior to that type of thing, and it's a good buddy movie, and there is actually good chemistry there. And if you're a Samuel L. Jackson fan, he's back on form in this, you know, from previous Turn Up and Take the Check films that he's been in recently. He's actually really watchable in this, and really, really funny. And his love story, and again, I'm not going to go into any details because it'll spoil it, but his love story is laugh out loud hilarious when there's a whole flashback sequence, and I've never laughed as much in a long time in a cinema. And seeing it again with a full audience as well just made it a great experience as well. So, Ed, you need to go to the cinema with more people.
I'll take your word for it, but I don't like other people. It's been rammed home that, you know, it's just when I meet a person, that's fine, but large groups of people, my God, you're all bastards.
Right, I think we need to move.
I'm slowly becoming a recluse. I know, but. Slowly, I am a recluse.
All right, steady, cowboy. Let's move on. Let's see what else is coming out. So again, I think I'm going to go and at least see 3 of these films that are coming up this week at the cinema. Some interesting things to look at. I mean, Detroit, I am really looking forward to that.
Yeah,
Steve.
I'm definitely going to go and see Detroit, the new film from Catherine Bigelow.
And I just think it's
coming. It's quite good, isn't it?
It's coming to the cinema right at the right point of time as well, because you know what it is covering is just so pertinent to what is actually going on at this moment in time in the news. Yeah, no,
Detroit, it's about the Detroit riots, obviously, which were race-related in 1968, I think. But yeah, it's got John Boyega. It's actually interesting, it seems to have a large percentage of people in it are English actors, bizarrely, even though clearly it's set in Detroit. I don't know why, but at least 3 of the main actors in it are British. But it looks like it's got a strong cast. Catherine Bigelow is a fantastic director. I love the majority of her work has been good, always interesting, and she can handle action better than any male director out there.
Well, I mean, anybody that directed Point Break is a hero in my book. You know, how did you come out with that idea and make it work?
So yes, this is her new film. It's a follow-up from, I think, Zero Dark 30 was her last movie. So this should be good. This looks really good. I know it's had good reviews, really strong reviews, and it's coming out, as you say, for a very pertinent time. We've also got American Made, which is based on a true story. It's the Tom Cruise movie.
This looks hilarious.
Yeah, it looks really funny. Doug Liman directed it. Tom Cruise doing more classic Tom Cruise rather than The Mummy. This is a full-on Tom Cruise movie. Yes, he plays a guy smuggling for the CIA, I think, isn't he? He's a pilot, and based on a true story. It does look very funny in the trailers, and I'm looking forward to this one. I will go and see this too when I get a chance. And we've also got Logan Lucky, which is the new film from the no longer retired Steven Soderbergh. He did claim he retired from directing theatrical films, but he has come back, and this stars Channing Tatum and also Adam Driver, who's Kylo Ren.
Daniel Craig.
Craig.
Three runs of the trailers to recognise.
Yeah, and don't forget it's got a Mustang in it.
And also Seth MacFarlane's in it, I believe, as well. Again, looks really funny. And again, is that based on a true story? So I'm quite keen on looking and catching this as well. Looks good. And we've also got Rough. In fact, actually, all 4 films this week look like they could be a good laugh. Rough Night has got Scarlett Johansson and a bunch of girls on a girls' night out that goes horribly wrong. And it looks pretty funny in the trailers. Got Kate McKinnon in it, who was one of the, the best thing in Ghostbusters.
I wasn't going to go and see this until he said Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, quite. Although I'm going to come back to Rough Night in a minute, but it opens on Friday. But I'm going to come back to it in a minute. But all 4 films look interesting. I think I might be giving my card a really good spanking in the next couple of weeks with this lot.
What you do in the privacy of your own home,
particularly if I'm watching Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think Detroit American Made and Logan Lucky, I will be checking those out this week. Absolutely. I think it's a good week for the cinema, and I'm hoping at least 1 or 2 of these are early openings, hopefully.
Yeah, so am I.
So we can talk about them on the podcast. Right, Blu-rays released this week, Steve.
We got Their Finest, which is set during World War II, and has Gemma Arterton starring in it as a sort of screenwriter who has to make a film about Dunkirk. So they're trying to make a positive spin on it. So again, it's tying in with quite a few films that have come out recently. Obviously, there's been Dunkirk. There's also a film coming out in January called Darkest Hour, which is about the same thing but from a more broader perspective. And this is kind of about how propaganda was spun into after the events during the war. So apparently, great film. I haven't seen it yet, but it comes out on Blu-ray on the Monday, and I'm quite keen to see it myself at some point. I will. We've also got the Belko Experiment, which is a film where a bunch of people are basically in an office block, I think in South America, and the doors are locked, and they've basically got to kill each other. It's basically Battle Royale meets Office Space.
The premise does sound quite intriguing for this one, but it appears to have been done on a budget of 11p.
Yeah, and there's only so many deaths you can do via photocopiers and shredders as well.
At least it managed to get, I might have got an 18 certificate, so maybe it managed to up the violence level to a point where even the BBFC couldn't take it anymore. But I would like to see someone getting killed with staplers and copy machines or whatever. It's co-written by James Gunn, who obviously also wrote and directed Guardians of the Galaxy, among many other things. So it's had decent reviews, and you're right, it may be limited in terms of budget, but it does look like quite an interesting concept. And there's also the second season of Supergirl is also available on Blu-ray this week. I've not seen Supergirl at all. I'm really not into the TV superhero stuff, with the exception of Marvel's TV stuff. But I know that Supergirl certainly has been getting very good reviews and has been very popular.
Ultra HD Blu-ray news.
Right, Ultra HD Blu-ray news is so interesting. This first of all, a couple of announcements. Again, this is the US. I don't know about the UK, but Rough Night, which opens in the cinema on Friday, is out on Ultra HD Blu-ray and Blu-ray in the States on September the 5th. So in other words, 8 days after the coming out of the cinema in this country, you can buy it in the States.
So you're going to be buying this and watching it in the comfort and privacy of your own home cinema.
Yes. We've also got Transformers, which is announced for the 26th of September in the States. That's again Ultra.
Oh Jesus, September's going to be an expensive month for some people.
Yeah, plus there's also 3D Blu-ray and obviously regular Blu-ray. Again, no announcement yet as to UK dates. So I don't know. You mentioned Terminator, actually, Phil. Terminator 2. That's out in early October in the States, and I've got it on order, the 3D disc, which isn't being released in the States but isn't being released in the UK. I've got it on order on Amazon, but at the moment there is actually no date given for its release, so God knows when that is. So all these things are a little bit worrying, really, in terms of UK release dates. It just seems to be a mess, and the US is getting everything fast and quick and earlier, and so there you go. Also, James Cameron was being interviewed and about Terminator 2, but he was asked about The Abyss and True Lies, and he said that they'd done all the work on it. They did a wet-gate scan of The Abyss for restoration, 4K restoration. They've done an HDR pass. It's all ready to go, but he was busy with the Avatar sequels, and that I couldn't give it his full attention. But that's now all done, so he's got a space in his schedule to actually concentrate on The Abyss and True Lies. So it looks like we will finally be getting those discs released in the near future. From Fox.
We said this on Blu-ray as well, and it never happened.
No, but he has said, I'm sorry, it's my fault they've been delayed, but I'm on the case now, and we'll get it done. So,
okay.
Fingers crossed.
Okay, you mentioned Daniel Craig earlier on. He's just confirmed that he's going to do one more Bond film. How do you feel about this? Are we happy that he's coming back, or what?
Couldn't give monkeys.
Yeah, I'm the same. I think the last two have been really poor.
What, Skyfall?
Yeah.
No, I like Skyfall, but Spectre I thought was grim.
Skyfall has not doesn't stand up terribly well to repeat viewing. Spectre doesn't stand up very well to viewing.
Any viewing.
Yeah, and Quantum of Solace was was
a shit
pretty,
pile.
yeah.
Quantum of Solace would have been better if it hadn't been so badly directed in terms of the action, which was unwatchable most of the film. But yeah, he phoned it in with Spectre. You obviously didn't give monkeys. They've obviously just chucked an infinite amount of money.
And he's obviously not going to give him monkeys about this one either. So
I know.
I really couldn't be.
He'll be what, 55 when he's talking about another 2 years. This comes out, so he's going to be well into his 50s. Why don't they just get someone young in?
But he's in his 50s and he looks a damn sight better.
Well, that's true. He's about the same age as me, but yeah, it's just these are physical films, and he's not that interested. They're just doing it for the money. I don't know why they're going to just get somebody else in.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I mean, it needs another sort of reboot, doesn't it?
Yes,
to kick it on
back to being old school, back to proper Bond films again.
Yeah, and if they're not capable of doing that, then I think Bond's finished basically. I think it maybe needs a decade away to sort of.
It needs to shift its focus.
Yeah, totally.
Go HBO and actually look at all of the double O's. That could be potentially quite entertaining.
That could make an absolutely fascinating TV series, which could actually cover it in the detail that it needs to be covered.
Female agents as well, couldn't you, without any problems?
Yeah,
002 could be
nice big budget TV series would probably be the shot in the arm that the franchise maybe needs. Right, so that's that. MGM was sued as well for not including Bond movies in a complete James Bond box set. What's this all about, Steve?
This is really funny. This is
very funny.
This is very funny for a number of reasons. First of all, MGM released a box set of all the Bond films, and then was sued as a class action lawsuit by people who said, "Well, I bought it, but it doesn't include Casino Royale, the 1967 version, and it doesn't include Never Say Never Again." Now, MGM did not make those films originally, but actually do now own them. They've bought them since, so they are all part of MGM's catalogue. So they could have included them if they wanted to, but obviously the idea was this box set was meant to be the Eon Productions. But they said, no, you've said all Bond films. Those two Bond films, yes, okay, Casino Royale might be a jokey comedy version, but Never Say Never Again was a remake of Thunderball, and it stars Sean Connery. It's a Bond film which you're going to get, and it's not in there. So therefore, they can't. They should have said, this box set is all of the Eon Productions or something like that. But saying all Bond films is not. So they were sued, and the judge actually agreed with them. But the funny thing is, if you read his statement, he slipped in loads of Bond titles, which made it even funnier to read. So we'll put the link in. We'll put the link into the messages, the comment section, and you can read it for yourself, but it is really funny. But so is MGM, right? Because there's been a lot of people always talk about, they always try and say Bond films, they always mean just the Eon Productions, but there are other Bond films around and they should be recognized as such. And okay, the original Casino Royale isn't particularly great, and Never Say Never Again, but
didn't they try to argue that there's a difference between all and every?
Yeah, got chucked out pretty quickly.
Well, lawsuits, as we know, generally degenerate into advanced pedantry without too much help at the best of times. But yes, this was a particularly poor showing from all concerned. So,
but it says it on the back of the box, doesn't it? Which films are included? So the argument is, if it's only kind of almost like false advertising if someone doesn't know what the Bond films are and they pick that box set up and then they walk away disappointed that Never Say Never Again isn't in there or something.
Clearly anyone who's buying that box set because they want Never Say Never Again and Casino Royale from the 1967 version demented. But even so, the fact is it does say all Bond films, and that's wrong. They shouldn't have said that. They should have said whatever. They should have clarified it in terms of what was actually in the box set. I think they've got a point. Fair enough. Why not? And it's funny.
Yes.
Okay.
I would drink to that.
So is this still available to buy if anyone wants in on class action suit and hopes?
I think it's a US release though. So
can I sue them because my Bond box set doesn't have the two latest ones in it?
Can I sue them because they weren't very good?
Well, if you've got money to Bond, Steve. Right.
Although having said that, did you ever see the documentary that Mark Gatiss did on Bond?
I did.
Yeah,
yes.
I think I did.
Yes.
The bit good. Where he says about when Patrick Macnee and Roger Moore are kind of wandering around the facility dressed up, all in black. And he said it actually makes more sense if you consider it as a pair of two deranged old men who think they're spies.
Yeah.
Well, that applies to all of A View to a Kill.
Yeah. Where Roger Moore was 59, wasn't he? And it was just
a boyish 59. Yeah.
Okay, so there was some breaking Star Wars news as we come on here. That the next, I know I'm going to be along the same lines as you, Ed. So just wait. The next standalone film is rumored to be about Obi-Wan.
Yeah, it's not actually been officially announced, is it? It was the Hollywood Reporter that said that they've got
Hollywood
inside
Reporter.
sources.
Yeah,
and that's not a massive surprise because there've been plenty of rumours about.
Yeah,
that
but I've had enough of this now. I don't want to know anything about Obi-Wan's backstory. We saw enough of it in the prequels, and we know enough of it. It's like this Han Solo movie. I mean, do we really want to see how he won the Millennium Falcon in a card game? Do we really want to see how he met Chewie? Do we really want to see the Kessel Run? Do we really need to see this stuff in a film? And I'm just surmising that those things are going to be in the Han Solo film because they will be playing it to the fans, and they'll be saying, "Oh, well, the fans will want to see this, and they'll want to see Chewie ripping somebody's arm off, and they'll want to, everything that was discussed in the original trilogy. They'll want to see it in the Han Solo films." And then, if this Obi-Wan film is the thing, then I think they've completely missed the point, or completely missold what these standalone films should really have been about, which is the Rogue One style film, which is completely different characters, same universe, but looking at something completely different. But even then, they tied that into A New Hope at the end.
I mean, there's an infinite universe out there. They could do stories about characters we've never heard of and little things involving nothing to do with the main saga.
Or characters who had such a short screen time but were interesting, like Boba Fett.
Yeah, or Bib Fortuna. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, totally.
And Boba Fett, I think we should avoid. Boba Fett, we've had enough of. Boba Fett, Yoda, which are the two other things they're talking about doing films of, by the way, are like, no, please don't. Obi-Wan, God, what's he going to be sitting around, as Ed said, sitting around desert in his dressing gown, or the Han Solo movie, which I've got no interest. I mean, I've got to say, like you, Phil, I mean, my excitement has waned massively during the course of this year. I know it's we're 4 months now until episode 8, and I'm really not that bothered. I'm more excited about getting season 3 of Rebels, actually, which comes out at the end of the month.
You see, the thing for me, Last Jedi teaser trailer, it looked boring, didn't it? I mean, there was nothing in there and I guess a teaser is kind of like that. It doesn't give anything away, but apart from porgs, which we learnt are little stupid bloody creatures which have taken the internet by storm, and I've stopped watching the Star Wars show because all they went on about was that. There's nothing in that teaser that makes me want to go and see that movie, because to me it looks like some boring thing where we're going to get Rey and Luke sitting around and training and stuff. Who wants to sit and watch that?
I think they should be more ambitious. I mean, for example, a Whiplash-esque take on the Cantina Band and the pressures of getting together and being that tight. I mean, that would be And One Man and His Rancor. I mean, that has that there's some potential there as well, isn't there? But what was that poster I stuck on your Facebook page years ago? A film about a gonk droid. It's a droid that goes gonk, but you'll watch it because it's Star Wars. Yeah, well, I mean, people do seem to be trying to test that to destruction right now. So
they do. I mean, this whole Han Solo movie thing, and if they're going to do Obi-Wan, who's interested in that? Seriously.
The trouble is they've only got really one shot to do it well, because from here on out this is canon, and we've seen with George Lucas, if you don't get it right, that's there for kind of all posterity. That's there, you don't get a second chance to do that, so they've got to nail it first time. And
another weird thing that's occurring to me at the minute is there's now a lot of love, and I don't know where this is coming from, for the prequels. and for Hayden Christensen.
But this is like people being wistful for Stalin, though, isn't it? Just saying it wasn't that bad, was it? Bring back Saddam Hussein.
I know why that is, though. You know what it is? It's because, but good or bad, at least with the prequels, Lucas tried to do something that was different. They were very different from Star Wars. He didn't just try and do the same thing. And one argument you could say, criticize Rogue One for is, it was a lot. It kind of was a bit too much like Star Wars, or The Force Awakens, which was basically just a Star Wars remake. At least with the prequels, he did try and have a tonally different, visually different, very different type of film. Yes, I'm not saying it succeeded, and it had a lot of problems. But I admire him for at least trying to be different, and standing by his guns. Whereas, what they're doing at the moment is they're just, as you say, Phil, pandering to fanboys, and perhaps being less original than they should be. Now, what is interesting about this Obi-Wan film is that the director they're sort of apparently courting is Stephen Daldry, who made Billy Elliot. So that's going to turn out well, isn't it? I mean, it worked out well last time they hired someone who was kind of two guys who were kind of original and different.
So Obi-Wan's going to get brought up in Newcastle dancing.
It's going to be bleak as you like. He'll have to steal his first brown dressing gown.
Greyhound racing. And
Stephen Daldry's films. I mean, The Hours, which is a film about AIDS and people dying, and Billy Elliot and the Pine Miners strike. He seems like the perfect director to do a film about.
I don't know. They could up the ante, get Ken Loach in.
I would love to see a Ken Loach.
He's a coal miner.
Ken Loach Star Wars film. It would somehow still be the fault of Margaret Thatcher.
She turned out to be the Emperor, wouldn't she? They take
yeah.
It's Thatcher.
So, in other words, there is actually a bewildering possibility for Star Wars movies, but people lack the considered insanity to really push the envelope into the direction.
I mean, we're saying all this, but I can absolutely guarantee you, without any doubt, that I'll be at a midnight screening for all of them.
Yeah, obviously.
And maybe it's just a case of the Last Jedi trailer was just a bit naff and there wasn't much in there, and maybe when we get the first full sort of trailer and we start seeing battles and all the rest, we might actually the excitement level might ramp up again. But at the minute, I think it's oversaturation. And
remember, kids, it's the hope that kills you.
Yeah.
As soon as you hear those same audio cues, I think that it's guaranteed. It's like Pavlovian conditioning for billions of fans.
Did you actually watch the Star Wars show?
I did, yeah. I really liked his joke.
Because
the John Williams, and he says, "We'll have to change this cue."
Yeah,
and it's the opening of the movie.
The opening cue, he goes, "Yeah, that's only 10. We're going to change that." and then Williams was like, "What?" Didn't realise he was joking at first, and I thought, "Oh, okay, you're good." Yeah, that was quite funny.
Yeah, that was quite funny. Yeah, that was quite a good idea, having two directors, interviewing each other. It was quite amusing. Right. Anyway, let's move things along. Right. So, just to wrap up, we'll be talking about movies. Let's talk about a little bit of TV, because HBO have brought back Game of Thrones for season 7. There's been some hacks, there's been some mishaps, but I understand, and I'm just going to switch on to mute the same as Mark here because I ain't interested. But I understand it's been great.
I've been enjoying myself. I have enjoyed the spread of episodes that go like the clappers and ones that are a bit more considered. I'm pleased that a character who went AWOL several series ago has
turned back up again,
has stopped rowing. And yeah, generally, it unquestionably feels more rushed than some previous series, because there's now a very definite line in the sand where something has to be considered a satisfactory ending, and they've got is the next series 7 episodes as well?
I'm not quite sure how many episodes, but apparently they're going to be a lot longer. There's going to be, because the last episode of this series will be, I think, an hour and a half, or an hour and 20 minutes. It's going to be quite long. But they're talking about doing longer episodes next season, but less. So I think you might end up with the amount of actual minutes.
Okay. Well,
the total number of minutes isn't going to be that much different from one season to the next. But they're clearly, you can clearly see they're now moving towards their, I don't want to use the word end game because it sounds like a pun, but the conclusion is reaching its conclusion, and they're weeding out secondary characters pretty quickly and getting down to the core of it. And I think everyone, well, certainly a lot of the fan guesses in terms of where the plot was going are all coming to fruition now.
Yes.
It's fairly obvious they dropped a massive hint.
Two massive, two hints the size of an oil tanker.
Yeah. Although I've got to say, one of the scenes, the one with the dragon was really good. I think that's a brilliant scene. There's been some great scenes in this, and there's been some fantastic action in it, and the money is up on screen, and no question about it.
Is there still lots of tits and bums?
Actually, you know what? There is less nudity going on. I mean, there was
one great scene with
Natalie Emmanuel.
Yes, Natalie Emmanuel, which delivered the goods in spades and will be more than enough for me this season. She's as fit as a butcher's dog.
Only air came out, Phil. You might have to cut that. I don't know, but
You stole that from Bill Hicks.
It's a recognised term.
But yes. Yeah, in answer to your question, Phil, there's been less nudity than in previous seasons, but the violence levels are still up through. The amount of swearing has definitely been upped.
Yes.
The C word has gone through off the scale this season.
Yes.
When you get Diana Rigg using it, you can't go wrong.
No, this is true. There is something about posh old women swearing is everything I could want.
Oh, not even swearing though, but using the C word. It was so funny and it was so appropriate. She just delivered it with perfection.
Yeah. So,
yes, this season's been really good, and obviously, I just wish it was longer. I'm kind of give me 10 episodes because it's so good. But obviously, the reason they've done that is because there's a lot more action on screen this season, a lot more battles, a lot more.
It's costing them a bloody.
It's costing an arm and a leg. Because I mean, the thing is, it's not just that there's more action they've got to do, but in fairness to Game of Thrones, the production values on this series are they're cinematic. So they're doing it at a level of quality that you would expect from a cinema feature. So there's no TV sort of shoestring stuff here. This is proper big budget delivering the goods in terms of spectacle and in terms of special effects. So that you've got to be applauded for that, and that's clearly why they've had to drop the number of seasons. But also, I think it is accelerating at a pace now, whereas they may have taken their time in previous seasons. Now it's like let's get to where we're going. And yeah, I'm thoroughly enjoying it. 2 more to go, can't wait. And only problem then is waiting over a year or however long it's going to take for them to shoot the last season.
Well, you say that. I don't know. Did you watch Westworld, Steve?
Yes, I did watch Westworld.
Would you see the trailer for the second one?
It's not coming out for next year, is it?
No, but it's still going to be in between this and that. So there's another big ticket item due. I am stoked for that. I honestly, Westworld, over and above Game of Thrones, Westworld was my TV program of last year. It was just awesome. So I am genuinely looking forward to that. So yes, that's all good. But no, as I say, it's ticked on nicely. There's a degree of wish fulfillment. I think it's freed from, it's long been free from the exact path of the R.R. Martin books, but they're in sort of more uncharted territory. I do think we're going to regret that slightly because Martin had no compulsion in ensuring that people that you detested lived long and fruitful lives, and people that you quite liked ended up, being barbecued and stuff. So I suspect it's going to be a bit more Hollywood, a bit more Scooby-Doo towards the end of these things.
But that's good because I want this conclusion. I don't really want it to. I want the good guys to win in the end.
War frequently ends in a very unsatisfactory way.
Yeah,
I'll be disappointed if everyone lives happily ever after. Put it like that. So
I think that's a safe bet.
Well, no, this is true, but we'll see how we go. And if I don't know if this counts as a spoiler. Okay, I'm going to say the word spoiler. Push on 30 seconds. In the very early episodes of Game of Thrones, they kept during the historical long night and the rest of it. They kept on referencing that the White Walkers rode on giant spiders. If I don't see someone riding a giant spider between now and the end of this program, I'm going to be seriously annoyed. Can I just put that out there?
Sounds good.
Really, really disappointed. I want me some giant spiders.
Although they have been quite clever in referencing back to stuff that was said like 5 or 6 seasons ago.
Yes,
and sort of.
It's not a friendly one for those of us who have, memories that just about allow them to remember what their wife and child is called. So, yeah. But it's good to see us not being treated as children.
What I do like is that by having a definitive ending and an overall story arc to the entire series, because obviously initially it's been based on books, it does mean that you will get a satisfying, some sort of, even if it's not necessarily the conclusion that we might want, or if it's going to be Hollywood conclusion, you'll get a conclusion to this series. And therefore you'll be able to sit down when it's finished with 8 seasons and watch them through as a complete, coherent story from beginning to end. It's not like other American TV series where, they sort of like make it up as they go along and it goes horribly off tangent and then ends up jumping the shark and then becomes absolute mess. Game of Thrones has consistently delivered quality acting, writing, production values, and a consistent story arc from beginning to end. That, if nothing else, sets it above most TV series.
Okay, so on that bombshell, that is it for the AVForums podcast this week. If you jumped forward for spoilers, well done. You missed the giant spiders, whatever that means. Thanks for listening, as always, and my thanks to Steve Withers.
Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live.
Ed Selley.
I can see your dirty pillows. Everyone will.
And Mark Botwright.
I wanted to do that line.
Yay, Ed wins 1 week. Sussed him out. And Mark Botwright.
I've been invited to the prom.
Don't forget, you can follow us on Twitter and Facebook, bookmark AVForums for the latest reviews, news and videos, and of course leave us a 5-star rating on iTunes, but only if you enjoyed the show. I'm Phil Hinton, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you again next week.